We're on the way to Cesar Cano's house for taco tasting. If you don't know who Cesar Cano is, he was a finalist on the last season of MasterChef, which was season 9. So he didn't win, but his food, I heard, looked amazing. He sounds like a really nice guy. He's lives in Houston as well, a fellow Houstonian, so of course it's easy to do this collab together. But yeah, he's doing a taco tasting, so right in his own home. So that's where we're headed today, and we'll get to taste Cesar's tacos.
Hi.
Hello.
Come on in.
Hello.
How are you?
Christine.
Nice to meet you.
My husband John.
Hey,
How's it
John.
going?
How are you?
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Come on in, guys, please. Come on in.
Hello.
This is my mom.
Hi. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hablas español.
Un poquito.
Hola, nice to meet you.
Elda?
Hi, nice to meet you.
It's good.
It's not too sweet, yeah. It's deep and rich, but not sweet. Thank you so much, Cesar, for having me and John here for your taco tasting. I'm excited to kind of do this Q&A because I always love learning about other people who've gone through the same stuff I have. So John, who's behind the camera, has a few questions for us, so we're going to do a short Q&A.
I went on Reddit, on MasterChef subreddit, and I just posted a question because there's a lot of people there, and some people asked some questions. So, how did you guys get into food? Cesar, you go first.
I got into food out of obligation. My mom would make me help her with dinner. It wasn't something I was like, let's see what's going on in the kitchen. But that was just part of my chore list. I had to help her get dinner along with cleaning the restroom and cleaning my room. And it was a thing I did. And then it just kind of grew on me. I was like, let me make something by myself without having my mom to tell me what to do.
Okay, well, I got into cooking much later out of necessity because I went to college, didn't know how to cook a damn thing. So I had to learn how to cook rice in a rice cooker. And that was kind of like as an Asian child, that's very bad that I didn't even know how to make rice. But out of necessity, I taught myself how to cook. I really miss my mom's cooking because I lost her when I was young and she never taught me how to cook. So I miss like a lot of the Vietnamese and Asian food I grew up eating. So just kind of taught myself from there.
All right, Cesar, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Favorite thing your mom cooks and the worst?
Ooh, okay, I know the worst. That one's easy.
His mom is her finalist.
Okay, so she used to make us these cheese stuffed squash. Like she would take like a zucchini, but like the Mexican zucchini, the calabacita, and she'd hollow it out and stuff it with cheese, and then
What kind of cheese?
Fresco,
Fresco?
yeah. And then she would do the same battering like a chile relleno, so it'd be like this lightly floured egg white batter, and then put it like in a tomato broth, which is good, but she would make it for us all the time.
So this is the worst.
Yeah, after a while, I just walking in and seeing it, I was like, okay, that's what today has in store for me. That's the worst. That's the worst. And not because it's bad, it's just because I ate it too much that I never want to eat it again. Oh, and my favorite is very simple. I still asked for it as my birthday dinner from her, and it's what my first taco's inspired. It's a corn tortilla, tomatillo salsa, crema, and that's it. Yeah, very, very simple.
All right. C, what made you want to audition for MasterChef despite your disability?
I think it was trying to prove to myself that I could still do things, because when I auditioned for MasterChef was, I want to say like a few years after my vision had decreased the level it is now. So I was just like kind of relearning how to, for a few years I had already gotten back into the kitchen, but it was kind of like a way to prove myself, like, can I do this still, like, even though I've lost my vision. So I think it was really just to challenge myself, and that was why.
Same question, Cesar. What made you want to audition for MasterChef?
It really was. It's to a coworker who kind of just kept pushing me to do it. She's the one that said, "Hey, they're having auditions in Houston, and you should go try out," because she knew I took my lunch every day and that I enjoyed cooking. But then it seemed like a really cool adventure, and that just fits my personality. I'm always being accused by my friends of taking them to shady places, or like where they're afraid we might get mugged at we turn a corner. So to me, it just seemed like one of those adventures. Like I get to go on this cool thing during the school year and miss work and just have fun. Why not do it? So it was very selfish reasons, I'll admit it.
So the teacher wanted to be a truant.
Yeah, I wanted to be truant. I wanted to have 2 summer vacations, and it worked out that way. So I was like, yes, Nothing noble about my reason.
Okay, so this question comes from Reddit. Houston is becoming a food destination. Where is your favorite place to eat right now?
Oh my god, that's hard.
You take that one because I need time to think on that.
That's really a hard question, because it really depends on. So my palate gets bored very easily. So it really depends on what mood I'm in.
So what is the last favorite place? How about that?
I don't know. There's so many different things, right? So I still can't answer it properly. I mean, for Vietnamese noodle soup pho, I would go to Pho Dien on Bel Air. For, I think, my latest favorite new place that's kind of like kind of new American European would be Nancy's Hustle in East Downtown. For barbecue, I like Killen's and Fege's barbecue. For tacos, aside from Cesar's tacos today, I like Tacos Tierra Caliente outside of West Alabama Ice House. That's like the quintessential like Houston place to take people, because you've got cheap Mexican tacos and then like beer and an ice house. So yeah, I would say that's some of my favorites, but there's just so many. Houston's like an amazing food town.
What's a restaurant that you think's overhyped? That people just talk about it and you're like,
God,
you know what?
this is
It wasn't that good.
Yeah, we're about to open a restaurant. I'm gonna say this and then overrated.
You can edit it out. I'm just
yeah,
curious.
let me think.
Or where you weren't impressed by it. Let's say that. I haven't been to it
The first time
yet.
I went to it, I thought it was overrated.
Okay, I haven't been to it yet.
The second time it was much better. What else? John, can you think? I know we have very similar opinions. I don't know. I'll think about something. Do you have an answer of his question?
Yeah, I'm similar to you, where my favorite places change. Like every year it seems I have a new favorite place. So I'll just say some that I return to. For Mexican food, people always ask me, it's like, where do you go for Mexican food? There's 2 spots that I really like. Cuchara on Fairview. It's awesome.
Yeah, all of our Mexican friends keep telling me I have not been there.
Cuchara's cool. Hugo's will always be my all-time favorite Mexican spot. If it's a sit-down restaurant. Those are probably the only sit-down Mexican places that I go to. Besides that, there's a taco truck on Telephone and 45 called El Cilantro, They do good work there because they do like beef head tacos and like they do different cuts. They don't have your normal stuff. So that one's cool. And then outside the Mexican realm, off Bel Air, my family, especially my mom's, is a dim sum king. We like to go there for a dim sum on a Sunday morning. Yeah. I really like Cara Robata. Sometimes I just go there for their bone marrow appetizer. I love the way they do that.
Have you ever had their omakase? Oh, it's really good.
I'll have to go back and try that, yeah.
For a special occasion, go there. Their omakase is very good.
To try that. Hansy's Hustle has made the top of my list this year. Uchi is also one of my favorite ones. Just for the fried milk dessert, I would eat that forever. What are some other ones, all-time classics that I really love? Moon Tower Inn. I'll give a shout out to Moon Tower Inn. Yeah, great burgers. They just revamped their patio, so it's really cool. And I like the vibe there more than anything else. It's so relaxed, just hang out. It's a good way.
So Cesar's a hipster.
No, not in the least bit.
His pants are pretty tight.
His pants are pretty tight. He has glasses, I know.
I need him to see.
Does he have a man bun?
No.
Can't do nothing with his curly hair. So yeah, I agree that Houston's cool and up and coming in the food scene. I just enjoy as much as I can of it.
Yeah. Okay, Cesar, what is your favorite thing to make as of late?
That's a good one. Favorite thing to make lately? Surprisingly, I have, especially now, I think because it's getting colder, I have this idea in my head that I really want to get better at soup making, because I always talk bad about soup. Because we live in Houston, and if you eat soup in the summertime, you're sweating. I don't want to have to sweat when I'm eating food. But now that it's going to get a little bit cooler, that's one of my missions, that I want to make better soups and like more creative soups. So that's what I'm getting into recently. Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about that and which ones I want to try out. So soups, simple.
What about you, C?
What was the question? What's my favorite thing to make as of late?
Yeah.
Well, I always enjoy, when people always ask me what my favorite thing to cook is, it's hard for me to answer because I always like to learn. I'm such a learner. So I'm always enjoying and having the most fun in the kitchen when I'm cooking something new. So really, I think lately it's just trying all these new dishes and recipes that I'm gonna try to put into the Blind Goat menu, the restaurant. So it's just been experimenting with things like taking the pork belly that was in my MasterChef finale, but doing a spin on it and trying to leave the skin on and doing like a crispy skin with the pork belly. So that's been like fun, and just trying new things and experimenting with all these things that I may have cooked before, but trying to upgrade it and doing it in a new modern format for the restaurant. So I think that's kind of what I've really been enjoying lately.
Of the menu items you have now for your new restaurant, do you have a favorite? Like, this will always be on, or not will always, but like, this is the one that I really want on my opening menu?
Surprisingly, it's a lot of the dishes that John has come up with.
Oh, that's cool.
Because he's all, people always wonder if he cooks as well, and he is very much in his own right a very good cook. So he's been experimenting with some Vietnamese food, with some Korean food, because that's his background. But like, he, I want to say like he wanted to experiment with this Vietnamese street food that we've actually never had before, because it's more common in northern Vietnam, and I haven't been there that often. And it's this thing where you take like a flat rice noodle and you wrap it up almost like a taco, and inside it is like beef that you stir fry with some onions, and then you dress it with like some fish sauce vinaigrette, and then it's just kind of like a hand food. It's similar. It's almost like a Vietnamese taco, if you want to call it that way. But it was his idea to test it out, and then I had it at my last pop-up, and it was like a big hit. So that's probably definitely something that's gonna go on the menu.
It's exciting.
Cesar, who is your biggest influence?
Su madre.
In general or food-wise? Both?
Yeah, both.
Okay. Food-wise, it has to be my mom and my grandma. Because when my mom got married, she didn't know how to cook. So it was my grandma, so her mother-in-law, who taught her. And then she just passed it on to me. So a lot of my foundational flavors come from those two women. And it's just now me incorporating all these years that I've lived in the United States and I've lived in Houston, and I've been exposed to so many cuisines from around the world, which of course are never as authentic as they are from the countries you get them from, but at least capturing an idea of them is that. So they have been very influential in my cooking, and about me just being a human being, kind of like, it kind of instilled a lot of the morals and values that I hold to. But outside of family, I think the most influential person for me is, dang, it's a tough one. I'd have to go back to the fact that I love writing and why I'm an English teacher, so I'm gonna have to say a writer. And it would have to be, man, I'm gonna pin it down to one, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be Ken Kesey, who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in the 1960s. That book kind of opened up my mind to ideas about, what it is to live in a socialist, not a socialist, but what it is to live in a society that's founded on capitalism and that kind of stuff. So it changed my perception of what it was to be a teenager in the 1990s. So it kind of like, so it'd have to be that.
What's the last really good book you read?
Oh, man.
Or what are you reading now?
Right now I'm not reading anything. I've been wanting to go get this book, a collection of short stories called The Wrong Heaven. I just can't make it out to the bookstore because I only read books. Like, I don't like the digital reading. But the last really amazing book that I read was also a collection of stories called Men Without Women. And it's by Haruki Murakami.
Oh, so you're a Murakami fan.
Of course.
Also.
Yes, yeah. Murakami
Getting
is like...
to know a lot about Cesar through these Q&A.
He is right now my favorite writer. Yeah.
That's interesting that you like Murakami.
Yeah, I see myself in a lot of his characters, so it's like, wow.
Okay, yeah, he does write a lot about the male psyche and how they unravel.
Last awesome book you've read?
I've been really into Jesmyn Ward. She won the I want to say it was the National Book Award. She wrote some. I think she's a writer from like Louisiana, so she writes a lot about like the poor black in the South. But like some of her books, like that's what I've been into. But I don't know. I'm also constantly reading, so it's hard for me to say. But I did read Murakami in school. I really liked that short story he wrote, I think it was like the 100% best girl for me. Do you know that one?
I haven't read that one.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's like one of his short stories. I really enjoyed that one, but that's interesting that you like Murakami.
I found him in just like compilation, and it had of many writers, and then it had his story called The Kidney-Shaped Stone That Moves Every Day. And I read it, I was like, man, I haven't read anything like this in a long time. So then I just went and ran through all his books.
Favorite moment in MasterChef experience besides the finale?
Okay.
That would have been my favorite. Just being done with this hellhole.
Getting the check.
Yeah, knowing that I'm just gonna get this damn check.
The check cleared. We're good. Oh man, it's a tough one. Let me see.
Favorite one moment
One moment.
besides.
Or memorable moment.
I mean, mine is probably one of the team challenges. I hated those the most because it took me out of the MasterChef kitchen, which I finally like acclimated to. So when you don't have your vision, you're like taken into a new environment. It's really hard to learn and memorize everything. And then plus you're working with a team and everyone's just like chaotic and trying to get stuff done. So that was the most challenging, but I felt like in life, I always feel like the biggest rewards come from the biggest risks and the biggest like challenge that you overcome. So I felt like when we succeeded in a team challenge, like for example, I don't know, like doing like the food truck challenge, even though we didn't win that one, I felt like I took the lead on that and I said, okay, we're gonna make the Indian food because this is our ingredients. I know how to make this dish. Let's do these, make them into tacos, whatever. And I felt like working in a team always feels good when you're trying to accomplish the same goal and working together, and then you as long as you don't fail and you learn something, you really understand the importance of teamwork. So I felt like for me it was like the team challenges that were probably the most difficult, but the most rewarding and memorable.
I love the team challenges. Like, I would jump for joy when they're saying, you know, we have a team challenge, and everyone else on the cast hated me for that because of the same reasons. Like,
Yeah.
it's the moment where you're no longer just you by yourself.
You have to depend on other
You
people.
have to depend on other people, and they hated that. But I love the chaos of the team challenges, and those were always my favorite. My favorite moment has to be the restaurant takeover. Restaurant takeover, because we got to be in a Michelin rated kitchen, and just the equipment that I had always seen in magazines and videos, and like I got to use it. And it was a rough start with the appetizer round, but then I just like fell into this groove and everything fell into place. So by far that was my favorite. Yeah, restaurant takeover.
Favorite judge?
Gordon.
Easy.
Cesar, what is your future plans?
I am going to, like, I really want this intimate setting that you guys just experienced today. There's a documentary on Netflix called 42 Grams that when I saw it was reverberating a lot of the ideas that I had in my head, where if I ever do, I don't know when that would happen or even if it happens, if I ever was to open a restaurant, it would only be like a 10 top, maybe 12 top, 12 people at a time, where just like today, I'm cooking it to order, I'm handing it to you. So right now, I'm just going to focus on continuing to develop dishes that represent me or people in my life or aspects in my life. And if I focus on the food, then everything else falls into place. So I don't have a definite answer for you, besides I'm just going to keep cooking and making things up to see what happens.
Good answer.
What about you, C?
My future plan, well, the Blind Goat's opening in December, so that's kind of on the close horizon. Love to write another cookbook. I need to finish my memoir and go from there, I guess. Do whatever makes me happy.
What are you most excited about opening your restaurant?
I think just finally being able to have a place where I've been able to express myself on the menu.
Cool.
And then having people, because over the years so many people have asked, like, you know, how can I try your food? And I do such limited amount of pop-ups and limited amount of events that I feel like now I'll be able to share my story and my creativity through food with other people.
Cool. What's your biggest concern?
I feel like being in the position that I'm in, having like done a show like MasterChef, there are very high expectations. So I think making sure that that you live up to that expectation or surpass it, I think that's difficult, because I feel like once people put you on a pedestal, the higher it is, the longer you have to fall. So I think it's getting people in the door won't be a problem, but I think it's churning out solid, good, consistent food at a price point that people understand. And I think that's what will be difficult. And just, learning the operational side of running a restaurant will be my biggest concern.
That makes sense. True.
Okay. Knowing what you know now, you should do it again.
Yes, only because I won.
No, I wouldn't. For me, it was such a cool experience. I loved everything about it. The filming, the waiting, the offset life, that I don't want to have anything to compare it to. Like, I don't want to go again and then have that be not cool and then be like, oh, it was better the first time. So I just want to keep it a single time kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, last question. If you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Like one dish or one ingredient?
One dish.
One dish, okay.
I mean, you can't do ingredient, like green onions side out, right?
Because I could eat potatoes the rest of my life. All you get is potatoes. Okay, I'm happy with that. All right, let me think.
One dish.
One dish.
God, that's hard.
That is. No, not clositas.
Can it be like a dish where you can always change out the topping so it makes it variety?
Or does it have to? Yeah, that's that. Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
maybe I'll
Can it be
say
like
something like
the core of
I'll
a
be
dish?
like-
Like,
Sushi and then,
And then
have,
like,
No,
tomato
I might say
and
like pizza, and then
Yeah.
one day it'll be
Right,
like
like-
the dough is made
Yeah.
of rice.
so
like,
and then
it would always have to
very
be
specific.
pepperoni pizza for her.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
all right.
I
Okay, well
might
that
rather
changes it.
die. I don't know. I probably gets bored.
Yeah, that's the okay. What's one thing I could eat forever? I love pork, so there would have to be pork in it. Oh, and I'm gonna go with your concept of wrapping carbohydrates around proteins. I would say a pork torta. Like if it was just bread and like braised pork in it, I'd eat it every day.
Can
Probably
I say,
not very long because I'd die. But
Can I just say like fried rice, and I would change out the things in the fried rice?
ooh, fried
No,
rice
it's
is so
gonna
good
be
too.
made for you, and then they bring it to you.
And it's
every day.
always the same thing.
always the same thing. You can pick out the ingredients and assemble it into something else if you want.
Ooh,
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe pizza.
Yeah, it's a close
I don't
second for
know.
me. Now I'm gonna stick with the pork torta. I'm sticking with it.
There's some noodle soup. I don't know.
Fried rice is so good too. I don't know why
Yeah, I
they jumped
don't-
in. Yeah.
I feel
Just
like
pick one.
I feel like John's always like, you're so
Serious
difficult.
question.
It is serious. I don't know. I'll just go with
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
fried rice. Good. Even though that's not even part of my last meal, but I feel like
fried
you
rice.
know,
That's
it's
good
comfort
choice,
food.
good
It's
choice.
comfort food.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that concludes our Q&A session. So thanks, Cesar, for having John and me here into your home and feeding us tacos.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so it was great. So if you're ever in Houston, check out Cesar's Taco Tasting. We have the information below, and follow him on social media and his Instagram.